So as usual, we start with the weekly market outlook, which we check on the fundamental analysis. If you're just joining us, welcome on board. Today is the 1st of December 2025. So we're checking our fundamentals to know the fundamental event, the key events actually for the week. So we'll just check out the main events, then we'll go on the charts to see the technicals. Now, today, Monday, the first event for today, which is tradable, will come up by 4 p.m. and that's the ISM manufacturing PMI, ISM manufacturing prices. Those are the two key events that will happen, and it's coming up in the afternoon session, which is the New York session by 4 p.m. today. The ISM manufacturing PMI is a high impact event, while the ISM manufacturing prices is a medium impact event. But both of them together combined could actually give some volatility on the US dollar. So I'll encourage us to watch out for that news event. Now, for tomorrow, Tuesday, the key event tomorrow will come from the Eurozone by 11 a.m. tomorrow. And that will be the core CPI flash estimate yearly and the CPI flash estimate yearly. Yeah, both of them are the medium impact event, but combined together could really give us some volatility on the euro. So let's watch out for that tomorrow on the euro. And on Wednesday, the key event on Wednesday, we're going to be having the GDP from Australia by 1:30 a.m. That will be night time here in Nigeria. If you want to wake up early or stay up late to trade that, you're free to do so. So just watch out. But then when we wake up on Wednesday morning by 8:30 a.m., there'll be CPI from Switzerland. So that is expected to impact upon the CHF pair. So make sure you miss the AUD news, nothing to worry about. By 8:30 a.m., there'll be CPI from Switzerland, and that will really move the market. And later on that same Wednesday by 2:15 p.m., there's going to be ADP non-farm employment change from the United States. That is also expected to move the market. And 4 p.m. on same Wednesday, ISM manufacturing PMI from the US is also expected to move the market. So these are the four key events to watch out for on Wednesday. A second, please. All right. So on Thursday, the key events to watch out for on Thursday by 2:30 p.m. By 2:30 p.m., there's going to be okay, by 1:30 p.m. there'll be challenger job cuts. Though as at this moment there's no forecast for it yet, but let's just take note. Challenger job cuts, and by 2:30 p.m. there'll be unemployment claims on Thursday. Both of them from the United States. They're likely to move the market. And later on that Thursday by 4 p.m. there'll be IV PMI from Canada, which is expected to impact upon the Canadian dollar. And finally on Friday, there's going to be employment change unemployment rate from Canada. That is the Canada version of NFP is coming up on Friday by 2:30 p.m. And same Friday by 4 p.m. we have three major events from the United States: Core PCE price index, prelim UOM consumer sentiment, and prelim UOM inflation expectation. Now, normally the first Friday of the month is the day we have NFP from US, but for like 2 months, October, November, back to back, because of the shutdown in the US, NFP did not take place. Though eventually NFP now took place, the November version took place, I think the third week of the month. So for now, I'm not seeing anything on NFP for this first week. So probably it's going to come on next week. We really don't know. But anytime it's going to come up, we're going to let us know. All right, so that's just the brief overview of the important fundamental events we should look out for in the course of this week. Now, because of our time, I'm switching over straight to the charts and we'll check out the technicals. Now, at the beginning of last week, I made us understand I held a bearish outlook on the dollar index. Okay, sorry, I'm a bit fast. I've switched over to my MetaTrader, and I believe it will have changed on your end also. So I really I imagine I remember saying that I expected the bearish movement on the dollar, and price moved as anticipated. I just want to give a little uh, review of some of the major analysis last week. Also, last week I gave my outlook on gold as at Wednesday when we had the analysis. I remember I was bullish on gold. I had a symmetrical triangle right here, and gold went in line with the analysis, and it was able to hit about 1,400 pips or so for last week. I had a symmetrical triangle outlook on gold, and we had price breakout to about 1,600. And also for Euro AUD, I remember this one also specifically. I'm just showing out the swing setup for last week, how it went in line with the analysis. So as we're projecting for the new week, it's good to also give an overview of the analysis for last week. I remember this analysis on Euro AUD where I said price was trending downwards on the daily time frame, and we're expecting a further bearish continuation because of the rising wedge and the confluence between the rising wedge and the resistance zone up there on the 4 hour. And I also clearly remember telling us that we should look at selling if price breaks out below this support zone, minor support zone on the 4 hour. And so far, Euro AUD, sold to the tune of about 107 pips, in the course of last week. So that's just a little overview of some of the instruments, the at least the swing instruments that we analyzed last week. So coming to this week now, again, I'm looking at the dollar index, and I'm perceiving the further continuation of the bearish movement we saw last week. Though it's possible to see a retracement before the final move downwards. Here we can see that last week closed with a candlestick pattern, two rejection candles side by side. It looks a little close to a tweezer top. Yeah, though I will admit that the shadows on both of them are not equal, but the body is having very close proximity. The upper shadow is just what is a little bit different. One has a longer shadow compared to the other, but notwithstanding, we can still take it as a tweezer top, and price broke out, of the trend line, retesting the trend line, and I'm expecting a further continuation to the downside, at least price possibly hitting this new support zone on the daily time frame. So I have a bearish outlook on the dollar. Like I said, the current candle layer is looking possibly like a bullish one. We may see a retracement before that bearish. Most importantly, if price is able to break out below this current low, then we will see price project to this support zone. So that's the validation for us. If price is able to break out, and let's take it down to 4 hour. All right, so if we see price break out below this support zone, then first support minus support zone here, then we'll see a price proceed to the next one. So I hold a bearish outlook on the dollar again for this week. And because of that outlook on the dollar, I'm looking at a possible bearish USD CHF. I remember my analysis also on the USD CHF for last week. Price was trending down the daily, and price eventually, I saw it forming what looks like a head and shoulder pattern. If price is able to break out below the neckline region, that will align with what we saw on the dollar index, and we might see a further bearish breakout on the USD CHF for the week. So I also hold a bearish outlook on the USD CHF. Now for USD CAD, my analysis for USD CAD last week was a bearish one. I forecasted an overall downtrend with the possible formation of a head and shoulder pattern, and price already broke out, below the lower trend line. I'm seeing the possibility of the USD card, projecting further in the bearish direction this week. Though again, it's actually possible for a retest of the trend line before that continuation, or price breaks out outrightly. But I hold an overall bearish outlook on the USD card for this week. I like us to just take note of those instruments. They are more on the daily time frame, but then I'm seeing bearish movement generally across the dollar. Now for gold, this is my outlook for gold for this week. Now, gold on the weekly time frame. All right, so this is gold on the weekly time frame. Price is trading, it already hits this resistance zone on the weekly, and I'm seeing it trying to form what looks a lot like a double top pattern for a massive drop. Let's go down to a lower time frame like 4 hour and possibly 1 hour. So on the weekly time frame already, you can see there is a resistance. Price already hit a resistance. Even on the daily, it's confirmed that price has hit the resistance and is forming a rejection candle. If there's extreme volatility, price may still go in within this resistance zone, but if not, it will just reverse from the current point. But either way, we still hold on to that overall bearish outlook. We may have a short-term bullish movement, but a longer-term bearish movement. So we've confirmed on the weekly, the daily, and even the 4 hour time frame that gold is trading currently at a resistance level. Now coming down to a lower time frame like 1 hour, I'm seeing the formation of a rising wedge pattern. So I'm going to be looking for price breaking out below the lower trend line here for a sell. And this could happen today. Now, before the breakout, it's possible for some movement to happen within this, upper part of the rising wedge. But ultimately, what we're waiting for is a breakout to the downside. And at the point of breakout, our RSI should be clearly below 50, and possibly our MACD2 could be below zero. If it's below zero, that gives a further confirmation to the bearish breakout. So I'm bearish on gold for this week. Now, even though it's 1 hour, it could actually span the better part of the week. So I'm bearish on gold for this week. Now, because of time, because I still have some daily time frame set up, but I'll look just at the ones that are intraday, and I have a swing setup I'm looking at also, and that's the CAD JPY. Now for the CAD JPY, the CAD JPY price a couple of weeks ago, price closed with this rejection candle on the weekly time frame with a confirmation of resistance here and a previous support turn resistance. So technically, we've been looking for a crash on CAD JPY since last week, but it didn't happen last week. But there's a high tendency it may happen this week, and these are my reasons. Now for CAD JPY, currently on the 4 hour time frame, I'm seeing clearly this is forming a head and a shoulder pattern. So if price breaks out below the lower trend line, we're going to see a massive bearish breakout on CAD JPY. Currently, RSI is below 50, MACD is approaching zero. But then we watch this carefully. If price breaks out below the below the neckline this week, please don't miss the opportunity to trigger a sell on CAD JPY. So just put your attention on this, especially for a swing trader. Just put your attention on the CAD JPY for this week, and we're bearish on the CAD JPY. I'm bearish on the AUD USD. Um, Now this is an intraday. All the analysis so far has been on daily, the CAD JPY on 4 hour, but this one is purely on entry will be on 1 hour. So I mean I've got something for everyone on this, and that's the AUD USD. Now for the AUD USD on the daily time frame, price is the overall trend is bearish. We have an overall bearish trend, and that can give us a continuation. But then there's a confluence where, in which case, we have a resistance. So we have this point is our confluence point where the downward trend line and the resistance meet. So technically, we're expecting a further bearish movement on the AUD USD for this week. So if we take it down to 1 hour time frame, and sorry, before I move to the 1 hour, even on the daily, the current candles daily candle is actually forming a rejection candle. Yeah, it's too early because the day is yet to be over. Anything can happen in the course of the day. But notwithstanding, if we can have that rejection on the daily, it means we should also have something similar on 4 hour. Okay, we don't have any on 4 hour, no, which is not a problem. But most importantly, if we go down to 1 hour time frame, I'll be looking at a breakout to the downside on the 1 hour. So I have my rising wedge pattern, which usually points us in the bearish direction. All right. So price is currently testing the lower trend line. If a new candle breaks out below this, then you may get ready to trigger a sell. RSI should be clearly below 50. Currently it's at 51. And if magic crosses below zero, it adds to the validity of the signal. So we're bearish on AUD on 1 hour. This is expected to trigger in the course of today. So please pay a lot of attention to it. And likewise, AUD CHF also bearish on 1 hour on AUD CHF. It's very, very similar to what we saw on the USD CHF. You can see the overall trend is bearish, and it's also having its own resistance zone up there. So we have a confluence point here. It even closed last Friday as a rejection candle on the daily. So we're expecting a downward movement, So again, we'll flip down to 1 hour time frame, and we have a much more better looking rising wedge. Let me say more perfect looking. And don't forget there's a rejection candle in the middle here, which is from the daily time frame. And it's not too clear, but possibly a head and shoulder. If it's all works fine, all good, then we expect a breakout to the downside. So we're bearish on AUD USD and AUD CHF on 1 hour. Like I said, it could trigger in the course of today. So please pay a lot of attention to those two instruments. All right, I have some other instruments there, but because of time, I'm not going to mention them, except if it comes up as part of the questions people ask, then I'll touch on them. So let me do a little recap. We're bearish on the dollar index for this week. We're bearish on the USD CHF on 4 hour. We're bearish on the USD CAD for this week on the daily, but entries can be made on 1 hour. We're bearish on gold on 1 hour. We're bearish on CAD JPY on 4 hour. We're bearish on the AUD USD on 1 hour. And we're bearish on the AUD CHF on 1 hour. So that's a recap of the analysis for this morning. I'll take a couple of questions as we begin to round up this session. So if you have any specific instrument you want me to analyze, please go ahead and post it in the comment section, and I'm waiting to respond to you. So while we're waiting for that, it's a new month, festive period. What are your goals? What are your plans for this period? How more do you want to make before Christmas? It's all up to you. Just make sure you follow our teachings, follow our trainings, and implement the things that we teach you. We empower with knowledge on how to trade the market right here at PU Prime, and you can take advantage of the knowledge we're sharing to make money for yourself in this market. All right, somebody is asking, Mr. Bankole Kayode, what about GBP USD? Okay, GBP USD, GBP JPY. All right, let's look at those two very fast. Euro USD. Okay, Now we have a bearish outlook on the dollar, and this is GBP USD daily time frame. All right, if you follow my analysis last week, I said I was seeing the formation of a double bottom pattern here, which could lead to a long-term bullish breakout on the GBP USD. And that also takes into account that the dollar index, could be bearish. And also, I said that could happen if price breaks out above the neckline region. So price already broke out above the neckline. The neckline is this region. All right. So price currently is trying to retest that neckline region just some pips away. So if, let me just shift it to the side now. All right. So if price returns, and don't forget there's even a tip, a minor resistance here, which is where price currently is. So two things will happen. Price will break that level and hit the main neckline here and bounce back, or we could as well see a reversal from this point. So if we are bearish on the dollar, it's just if we're having a bullish outlook on the GBP/USD, is very much in line, because even for the GBP/USD on the higher time frame, that is what we are seeing with the current analysis. That is the tip on that daily, which is still a minor resistance where price could either reverse or it touches the main one and reverses. So I'm still very much bullish on the GBP USD. So let's take it down to 1 hour. Well, if price breaks out downward, like I said, we may expect a breakout. I'm not seeing any possible entry on these time frames, except probably, let's go down to 15 minutes. All right. So, like I said, or a reversal. All right, so we should anticipate a breakout to the upside, even though there could be an initial retracement downwards, but the overall outlook remains bullish on the GBP USD. All right, so we check GBP JPY, and somebody is asking about Euro USD. All right, so from analysis of GBP JPY last week, we were bearish, and it looks like it's taking shape as analyzed. Though according to the analysis, we're expecting a breakout somewhere around there, but it happened. Price went to hit the confluence region up here, which is still a very good one. So GBP JPY is already in the sell zone. RSI is clearly below 50. MACD is yet to cross. Now, this depends on your trading choice as an individual. Let me go to the daily so that we can establish this better. All right, so this is the daily time frame. We have a rising wedge on the daily time frame, and we have another one within the daily, which is a confluence, and this is where the confluence is rather, and price has already broken out below the trend line for today. That's it, today's daily candle. So going down to 4 hour, we are already in the sell zone on the GBP JPY. Now, if you are an aggressive trader, as this is purely swing, so if you're there, you're not a swing trader, please don't just bother yourself about this. Just focus on the other ones I've analyzed. But if you are a swing trader, it's already in the sell zone. You can take a sell. But if you are a conservative swing trader, then you may want to wait for MACD to cross below zero. So at this point, it's all about discretion, but we're already in the sell zone on the GBP JPY. And all right. And price is expected to target the following profit levels. Yeah, definitely it's going to hit the first Fibonacci level, which is Fibonacci 23.6, and that is at some 30 pips, from the current price point. And if that level is broken, it will likely target the next Fibonacci level, which is Fibonacci 38.2, and that will be some 140 pips away. If the volatility is strong as the week progresses, it may target Fibonacci 50, and that will be as much as about 240 pips away from now. So we're already on a sell zone on GBPJPY. However, trade with caution and practice proper risk management. But we're bearish on the GBP JPY. And finally, we'll look at Euro USD. Except market condition changes, we still hold on to our bearish outlook on the dollar, and are set for a pair like the Euro USD, we may be expecting a bullish breakout. However, at this point, price is testing the trend line and also a resistance, a minor resistance on the 4 hour time frame. So while the overall projection is bullish, it's possible to see a retracement before the breakout, or price, depending on the market condition, we may have price drop way below. So it all depends. If price is going to drop all the way below, what I'm seeing here is I'm seeing the formation of what looks like a head and shoulder pattern on the Euro USD. If price will go below and break this proposed neckline region, then we're going to see a massive breakout to the downside. But if market goes in line with the overall trend and breaks out above this resistance here, then we'll see a longer term bullish breakout. So for Euro USD, it could either be a buy or a sell depending on where the price breaks out. But if it breaks out to the downside, it's going to be a short-term sell, but on the upper part is going to be a long-term buy. So just watch out for those areas where I marked. It can either be a buy or a sell. It all depends on where the price breaks out. So if it breaks out to the downside below the neckline, you sell. If it breaks out above the resistance, you buy. All right, so that's going to be all from analysis for today. It's a weekly outlook. Just take note of these specific instruments we've analyzed, and please just trade in line with the analysis. It's going to help you a lot. All right, we'll end the analysis here. To trade safe and have a great week ahead. Bye bye.